pause whatever you are doing at this exact moment. Please, do not swipe away or move on to the next piece of media. Resist the urge to close this window, or promise yourself that you will return to it another time. I urge you to stay incredibly present because the alignment that has just occurred within the past few moments is an exceptionally rare phenomenon, a fleeting cosmic event that the vast majority of humanity will go their entire lives without ever encountering. What your personal energy field has just received is an intentional transmission. You are not merely looking at another piece of internet content, nor is this a random recommendation generated by a digital algorithm based on your previous viewing habits. Instead, this represents a profound frequency resonance. Imagine a complex lock finally tumbling open because the precise key has been inserted, and that key is your current consciousness. It is the specific iteration of you living and breathing at this very second, occupying this exact vibrational space. A facet of your energetic signature pierced through the overwhelming static of billions of data streams echoing across the digital landscape, magnetically drawing this message directly into your reality. Alternatively, and I want you to sit with this thought for a second, this message actively sought and magnetized you. Regardless of which direction the pull originated from, an unbreakable ethereal link has now been forged. Before we dive deeper, it is absolutely crucial that you grasp the nature of this interaction. This is not meant to be mere entertainment to pass the time. It is not your typical motivational speech urging you to just think positively or artificially boost your mood. The sequence unfolding over the upcoming minutes is an active, energetic activation. In fact, your aura and nervous system are likely already reacting to it. Perhaps you are noticing a subtle vibration or prickling sensation in your palms, a comforting heat blooming within your chest, or an uncharacteristic, profound mental quiet, replacing the usual daily chatter. Conversely, you might not perceive any physical changes at all just yet, and that is entirely okay. Profound spiritual downloads rarely require loud, theatrical displays to prove their presence. Frequently, they manifest as absolute serenity. The most monumental shifts in our inner frequency can be as delicate as a soft breeze. However, your physical vessel recognizes the truth. Down to a cellular level, the deep, autonomic intelligence, the very same wisdom that consistently beats your heart and breathes your lungs without any conscious effort on your part, is acutely aware of the profound shift taking place within you at this exact second. You have been identified. Allow the gravity of that statement to truly sink in. You were not picked out at random from a crowd. This is not a matter of sheer coincidence, blind luck, or some form of universal bias. You were sensed and located in the precise manner a tuning fork vibrantly responds when its identical pitch is struck, piercing through a cacophony of surrounding sounds. It operates exactly like an intricate radio antenna, successfully isolating the exact broadcast it was engineered to intercept. For quite some time now, you have been projecting a highly specialized energetic resonance, even if the vast majority of this broadcasting has occurred entirely outside the realm of your waking awareness. This unique signal of yours has been echoing outwards through your recent behaviors and internal shifts. It reveals itself in the way you have started to deeply question the reality around you. It is evident in the subtle, yet undeniable friction and unease you now experience in environments or situations that once felt completely comfortable and familiar. Your frequency broadcasts through that unshakable, lingering intuition that a massive transformation is looming on the horizon, even if you lack the exact words to describe it. It echoes in the rapid pace at which you are shedding old friendships, outdated environments, toxic habits, and former versions of your own identity, evolving almost too quickly for your logical mind to process. Every single one of these experiences is a beacon. They are the tangible symptoms of your spiritual framework intensely realigning itself. Consequently, this specific message was explicitly encoded to track down and anchor into souls currently undergoing this exact phase of profound recalibration. There is a hidden truth regarding these cosmic activations that is rarely spoken about. They never arrive during periods of stagnant comfort. Rather, they manifest precisely when you are authentically prepared, and true readiness rarely resembles total clarity or having your life completely sorted out. In reality, being ready feels remarkably like teetering on the precipice of everything you previously believed to be true, while the foundations you once trusted begin to crumble and reform beneath your feet. Readiness often masquerades as a state of deep bewilderment, yet one that pulses with a bizarre, undeniable electric potential. True readiness looks exactly like you, sitting there right now, embracing whatever chaotic state you find yourself in. Regardless of the heavy burdens you have been dragging along, your presence here is entirely intentional. There are absolutely no mistakes in this encounter. As this broadcast reaches its conclusion, you will have absolute clarity regarding why your personal energy snagged this transmission out of the ether, and you will comprehend the precise latent power it is currently awakening within your core. Allow me to guide your imagination for a moment. Picture an immeasurably vast, pitch-black ocean. There is no coastline to be seen, nor a single star illuminating the sky above. Nothing but an infinite expanse of deep, dark water rippling endlessly into the void. Now, visualize that submerged deep within this shadowy abyss are billions upon billions of glowing luminescences. Every single point of light represents an individual consciousness, a living entity radiating its own distinct vibrational blueprint into the depths. The overwhelming majority of these glowing orbs throb with a subdued, monotonous cadence. They habitually adjust their flickering sequences to perfectly mimic the nearby lights. They blindly harmonize with whatever energy happens to be in their immediate vicinity. When the surrounding currents turn bleak and murky, their glow significantly weakens, and they only dare to shine intensely when their neighbors choose to illuminate first. These entities are highly reactive, yet completely devoid of true sovereignty. They function merely as reflective mirrors, rather than autonomous generators of light. However, on rare and miraculous occasions, a spectacular anomaly occurs. Amongst the endless sea of conformity, a solitary light initiates a completely different rhythm. It does not necessarily flash with greater speed or blinding intensity, but its cadence is distinctly and utterly unique. It commences broadcasting an energetic vibration that fiercely rebels against the conformity of its environment. It begins to radiate a brilliant tempo that is generated entirely from the deepest depths of its own internal essence, rather than simply absorbing and repeating the predictable pulses of the sprawling ocean surrounding it. When this extraordinary divergence occurs, the neighboring entities react in one of two distinct ways. They will either aggressively attempt to drag that non-conforming spark back into the mundane, synchronized rhythm of the collective, or they will slowly retreat, drifting into the shadowy periphery until they vanish completely. Regardless of their reaction, that unique beacon inevitably discovers itself navigating a profound solitude. It becomes acutely aware that it is unmatched, broadcasting a peculiar frequency that the surrounding waters simply cannot comprehend. My friend, that solitary, radiant light is you. You have been intimately acquainted with this sensation lately, haven't you? Think about the expanding chasm separating your current self from the reality you once seamlessly blended into. Consider those superficial conversations that leave you feeling utterly drained and unsatisfied, or the mindless entertainment that fails to distract or numb your deeper yearnings anymore. Reflect on the relationships that now feel restrictive and suffocating, much like trying to force yourself into garments that are several sizes too small. You have fundamentally altered your energetic pulse, and the metaphorical ocean around you has reacted in the only manner it knows, through stubborn resistance or cold isolation. Yet, nestled deeply within that very isolation in the liminal void bridging the person you used to be and the magnificent being you are actively evolving into, your vibrational signature shattered a critical barrier. Crossing that invisible threshold is precisely what illuminated your presence and made you highly detectable to this specific broadcast. The paradigm shift of resonance. Prepare yourself for a revelation that will dismantle everything you thought you knew. The cosmos does not reward sheer brute force effort. Instead, the universe functions entirely upon the principle of vibrational resonance. From a young age, society conditions you to believe that achieving your desires demands relentless hustle. We are taught to grind, to push relentlessly, and to aggressively bulldoze our way through obstacles until the physical world surrenders to our demands. To be fair, that exhausting paradigm does yield results, but only up to a certain limit. It is the exact equivalent of furiously swimming upstream against a raging river. Yes, you might secure a few agonizing inches of progress. You can absolutely drain your physical and mental reserves to achieve forward momentum. However, you will never, ever travel with the breathtaking speed or effortless grace of someone who recognized a completely different, hidden current. A current that naturally flows exactly where they wish to arrive. All that individual had to do was calibrate their internal frequency to harmonize with that supportive flow. Please understand that I am not speaking in poetic metaphors. We are discussing literal, observable mechanics. Specifically, this is the foundational reality of quantum physics, simply translated into mystical terminology, because ancient spiritual guides grasped these concepts millennia before modern laboratories did. At a subatomic level, every single particle composing your physical vessel rests in a fluid state of endless probabilities. These particles only solidify into a definitive state when they are actively observed, when a conscious entity interacts with them. The focus of your attention, the weight of your observation, and the exact pitch of your conscious awareness literally dictate which potential timeline collapses into your tangible physical reality. This is not a theory. It is a proven phenomenon repeatedly validated in scientific laboratories and rigorously replicated through decades of advanced experiments. The act of observing fundamentally alters the subject being observed. Consciousness is the ultimate architect of matter. Therefore, your individual consciousness, your highly specific frequency of perception, is actively sculpting your physical surroundings every fraction of a second, regardless of whether you are consciously steering the wheel or operating on autopilot. If the undeniable truth of this message is currently striking a chord deep within your soul, I invite you to pause and engage with this video. By liking this content and subscribing to the channel, you are intentionally instructing the algorithm and the universe to keep your energy field deeply tethered to these elevating frequencies as we continue this journey together. The architecture of your energy field. Now, let us venture into even more profound territory. Your localized energy aura, often historically referred to as your halo, is far from a fabricated, pseudo-spiritual myth. It is a scientifically measurable, highly detectable electromagnetic sphere continuously broadcasted by the synchronized coherence of your heart and your brain. Your human heart alone is an absolute powerhouse, projecting an electromagnetic field that radiates outwards, extending several feet beyond the boundaries of your physical skin. When this energetic bubble achieves true coherence, when you sustain a high, unwavering, and deeply intentional vibration, it transforms into something truly miraculous. It functions as an invisible, highly intelligent filter. It acts as an impenetrable shield and a sophisticated sorting mechanism that strictly governs what experiences, people, and timelines are permitted entry into your reality and which are firmly denied access. Let the magnitude of that sink in. Your halo is not a mystical upgrade you have to work tirelessly to construct. It is innate hardware you already possess. It has been actively filtering your life since the day you drew your first breath. The vital question is not, and never has been, whether you possess this protective energetic barrier. The only relevant question is, what specific frequency is your dial currently tuned to? The unyielding rule of this field is that it acts as a magnet for whatever resonance it currently holds, and, equally crucially, it acts as a powerful repellent for anything incompatible. An energy field dialed into fear will magnetically draw in scenarios that validate that terror, simultaneously repelling magnificent opportunities that demand bravery. A halo programmed with unworthiness will seamlessly attract toxic relationships that reinforce your feelings of insignificance, effectively blocking the kind of profound love that would challenge you to step into your ultimate sovereignty. A frequency locked onto chaos will summon endless theatrical drama into your daily life, blinding you to the profound peace that always rests right at your fingertips. Please hear me clearly. This happens not because a vindictive cosmos is seeking to punish you. You are never being punished by the divine. It occurs simply because vibrational resonance is an immutable, universal law, not a subjective preference. The universe possesses no moral judgment. It operates solely as a flawless mirror, perfectly matching whatever you project. This fundamental mechanism explains exactly why your personal radar intercepted today's broadcast. At some point in your recent history, your energetic halo initiated a profound recalibration, perhaps entirely beneath your conscious radar. You began vibrating at a heightened pitch that vehemently rejects the chaos, refuses to harmonize with the fear, and forcefully denies the illusion of your own smallness. A dormant power within your core began fiercely searching for a beacon that aligned with your ultimate destination, rather than settling for the echoes of your past. This exact transmission serves as that guiding beacon. Let us plunge even deeper down this rabbit hole. Within the realm of quantum mechanics exists a mind-bending phenomenon known as quantum entanglement. When two individual particles become fundamentally entangled, they forge an unbreakable bond that completely defies the concept of physical distance. You could pull them apart by mere inches, separate them across vast continents, or even cast them to opposite ends of the galaxy. Yet, the moment you stimulate or alter one particle, its twin reacts with absolute synchronicity. The reaction does not travel at the speed of light. It occurs completely and utterly instantaneously. It behaves as if the physical space separating them is an absolute illusion, as if, at the most foundational layer of existence, they remain a singular entity, experiencing reality from two distinct vantage points simultaneously. Now, I want you to hold that profound, mind-bending concept at the forefront of your awareness and apply it directly to your own life. What if I told you that you are already quantumly entangled with the exact version of your dream life that currently exists in the ether? Consider the magnificent future you have been desperately sensing, the one that feels so incredibly palpable you can almost reach out and brush it with your fingertips, yet somehow remains just outside your physical grasp. What if this reality is not a towering monument you have to painstakingly build from the ground up through blood, sweat, and tears? What if it is a pre-existing dimension you are already tethered to, and the only barrier standing between your current self and that manifestation is a simple discrepancy in frequency? The gap is not measured by the illusion of time. It is not bridged by exhausting physical effort, and it has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not you are worthy. It is simply a matter of vibrational matching. That fully actualized version of you, the one currently thriving within that alternate timeline, is continuously broadcasting a homing beacon. And the truth is, you have already been intercepting this exact signal. You have felt it during your most profound moments of total stillness, within the raw honesty of your deepest prayers, and through those inexplicable, lightning bolt flashes of pure intuition that seem to materialize out of nowhere and everywhere all at once. You have literally been downloading cosmic transmissions sent directly from your own future self. And this very video you are engaging with, this exact moment in time, this specific breath you are taking, it is all a structural part of the bridge bringing you there. The architecture of intuition. I want to pause and ask you something profoundly personal. Can you pinpoint the precise moment when you first recognized your personal energy field turning on? That undeniable awakening when logic faded, and you just knew deep in your core that your internal frequency was permanently transforming? Please drop that exact experience in the comments below. Do not hold back, because your specific story of awakening might be the exact vibrational catalyst someone else scrolling through is desperately needing to receive today. You know exactly what sensation I am talking about, don't you? Those startling instances where a profound truth washes over you, despite having absolutely zero rational evidence to support it. Moments when you feel magnetically pulled toward a life-altering decision that looks completely absurd on a spreadsheet, yet resonates as absolute, undeniable truth deep within your marrow. Or perhaps it is the experience of jolting awake at 3:00 a.m. bathed in pristine, crystal-clear clarity, only to have that divine vision evaporate like morning mist by the time you sit down for breakfast. I promise you, these are not random neurological misfires or chemical glitches in your brain. These are pure quantum entanglement signals. Your highest future self, the one who has already successfully navigated the labyrinth and crossed the bridge, is urgently whispering to you through the infinite quantum field. And as your personal halo sheds its density and becomes clearer, these whispers amplify into undeniable roars, silencing the static. Yet, here lies the critical misunderstanding that traps the masses. This is the exact dividing line separating those who genuinely evolve their reality from those who merely binge-watch spiritual content for a temporary dopamine hit. The guiding signals radiating from your ultimate timeline do not increase in volume simply because you strain your ears or try harder to hear them. They only become deafeningly clear when you actively remove the barriers obstructing them. And here is the revelation. The true blockage is almost never what you assume it to be. It is not your current financial constraints. It is not your difficult history. It is not even your deep-seated trauma. While your trauma absolutely laid the groundwork for your current behavioral patterns, the actual interference blocking your manifestation is noise. Specifically, it is the deafening, chaotic static of outdated identities, the heavy armor of survival that no longer belongs to you, yet you continue to wear simply because you forgot you had the power to take it off. Let me break this down to its core. Every single encounter you have ever survived has stamped a vibrational footprint into your energy field. Every limiting belief you passively absorbed from your parents, your societal conditioning, your academic environment, and your most devastating heartbreaks, each one has etched a distinct frequency code into your halo. To be entirely fair, a vast majority of these energetic shields served a vital, life-saving purpose at the time of their creation. The subconscious programming that convinced you to shrink yourself and remain small, that was a brilliant defense mechanism that kept you alive in a volatile environment where shining too brightly invited danger and criticism. The toxic belief that true love inherently demands painful sacrifice, that was a necessary survival tool you developed to endure relationships where fractured, conditional affection was the only currency available. The underlying assumption that the universe is inherently malicious and you must remain hyper-vigilant, that was a highly logical, intelligent adaptation to a genuinely threatening atmosphere. The great release, however, the fatal flaw of these brilliant psychological adaptations is that they do not come equipped with an automatic expiration date. They do not magically self-destruct the moment you finally escape the toxic environment or heal the wound. Instead, they stubbornly persist. They continue operating silently in the background of your psyche, much like hidden malware draining a computer's battery, siphoning your precious life force, generating relentless mental static, and forcing you to perceive your current reality through a distorted, fearful lens that hasn't been relevant for years. You are currently walking through the world protected by an energetic halo calibrated to survive war zones you evacuated years, decades, or perhaps even lifetimes ago. If you are willing to expand your mind to that concept, all of this archaic calibration manufactures a thick layer of vibrational interference. It creates a suffocating white noise in your field that completely drowns out the majestic broadcast of your highest timeline. It is the exact equivalent of trying to appreciate a delicate, masterful symphony while standing in the epicenter of an active, roaring construction site. The music is playing. It has always been playing. You simply cannot perceive it over the deafening racket of your own outdated survival mechanisms. Therefore, the most important question to ask yourself right now is not, how do I aggressively attract the things I desire? Instead, the ultimate question is, what internal noise am I finally ready to surrender? I want you to pause right here. Do not treat this as a mere symbolic gesture. This is a literal, physical, and energetic extraction. Take a deep, intentional breath with me right now. I am not talking about the shallow, unconscious, chest-level panting you have been relying on all day. Draw in a massive breath that floods your entire torso. Inhale deeply through your nose and visualize your rib cage physically expanding outward. Feel your stomach push forward to make room for the air. Feel the center of your chest powerfully elevate. Suspend that breath for a pregnant, electric moment at the very top, and then release it incredibly slowly through parted lips. As that stagnant air leaves your physical vessel, I want you to anchor a firm intention. This is not a fragile wish or a desperate hope. It is a sovereign directive. Declare this silently within your mind, or speak it aloud into the room. I completely release any and all frequencies that no longer belong to my soul. I purge the static and the noise that obstructs my ultimate signal. I am finally ready to hear clearly. The physical recalibration. Pay close attention to the physiological sensations cascading through your physical vessel right now after anchoring that intention. Do you perceive a subtle melting of tension in your shoulders? A profound unwinding within your core? A delicate alleviation of invisible pressure? That physical sensation is the literal, real-time recalibration of your energetic framework. Your personal halo is shifting right before your conscious eyes. By simply issuing that verbal directive, you granted your nervous system absolute permission to finally drop the incredibly heavy luggage it has been desperately clutching. In the realm of energetic transformation, permission is the ultimate master key. Without your conscious, deliberate release, your bioenergetic field will stubbornly cling to those archaic, dense frequencies until the end of time, simply because your subconscious was deeply programmed to believe that gripping tightly is the only way to survive. You have just re-educated your own biology. You have transmitted a groundbreaking new code to your cells. Surrendering is the new definition of safety, and possessing crystal-clear energetic boundaries is the highest form of defense. The paradox of resistance. This profound realization perfectly transitions us into one of the most tragically misinterpreted concepts in the entire landscape of spiritual philosophy. I need you to absorb this next statement fully, as it is the fundamental linchpin of your evolutionary leap. True protection is the exact opposite of resistance. Since childhood, society has conditioned you to believe that staying safe requires constantly constructing impenetrable fortresses, erecting heavy shields, wrapping yourself in metaphorical armor, and actively battling against negative energies. While activating a defensive shield might hold temporary value in incredibly extreme, acute emergencies, adopting resistance as your baseline operational state is a recipe for disaster. Living perpetually on the defensive is utterly exhausting, deeply isolating, and paradoxically, it ensures your own eventual defeat. The mechanics behind this are flawlessly precise. Whenever you actively resist an entity or a situation, you are forced to direct your precious conscious attention toward it. The moment you lock your focus onto a threat, you are simultaneously funneling your personal frequency into that very subject. By investing your energetic currency into what you despise, you inadvertently drag it into direct vibrational alignment with your own halo. This perfectly explains the tragic irony of individuals who dedicate their lives to aggressively combating bad vibes. They mysteriously seem to be perpetually drowning in them. It is the reason why souls who are neurotically fixated on shielding themselves from toxic environments are constantly surrounded by chaos. The most deeply anxious, hyper-vigilant humans consistently manifest the precise nightmare scenarios they spend all their waking hours fearing. The universe is not playing a cruel joke on them. It is simply matching their output. You cannot fight an adversary without temporarily adopting its exact energetic signature. And the moment you match that lower frequency, you magnetically pull it into your tangible reality. The architecture of elevation. So, if battling the dark is ineffective, what constitutes genuine, unbreakable protection? Authentic spiritual armor is achieved exclusively through frequency elevation. Real defense does not require stacking bricks to block out low-tier vibrations. Instead, it involves elevating your internal baseline so incredibly high that the chaotic, dense frequencies of the lower realms simply lack the wingspan to reach your altitude. You do not block the chaos. You completely vacate its broadcasting tier. You become a ghost to the drama. You render yourself utterly invisible and physically untouchable to misery. Consider how a radio functions. When your dial is locked onto a classical music station, it is physically impossible for the receiver to play heavy metal from a different channel. Those aggressive, chaotic signals are still broadcasting out there in the ether. The low vibration drama is still unfolding somewhere in the world. However, it completely bypasses your personal reality, because your receiver, your halo, is no longer calibrated to decode it. When mystics declare that your vibration is your ultimate shield, they are not reciting a catchy motivational quote. They are citing an unbreakable law of quantum physics. Once you integrate this truth, when you completely drop your sword, stop fighting the shadows, and instead focus entirely on amplifying your own luminescence, your entire world transforms. The phantom threats that once monopolized your mind melt into nothingness. Energy vampires naturally fade out of your orbit. Destructive behavioral loops lose their gravitational pull over your life. You did not aggressively conquer these obstacles. You simply evolved beyond their reach. You relocated your consciousness to an elevation where those dense obstacles literally cannot breathe. Community check-in. I am deeply curious about your personal journey with this concept. In the comment section below, I invite you to share the single most powerful habit, realization, or daily practice that has fortified your own energetic halo. What specific shift empowered you to drop your weapons, stop battling the dense fog, and begin your ascent up the mountain? Document your triumphs, because your unique strategy might be the exact blueprint another soul in our community desperately needs to discover today. The legend of the smog-bound village. To truly anchor this concept, let me transport you into a poignant narrative. Once upon a time, there was a dedicated woman named Miriam who resided at the very bottom of a colossal, ancient mountain. Her secluded village was entirely suffocated by a perpetual, stagnant fog. This was not your typical, whimsical morning mist. It was a dense, suffocating, and oppressive smog that seemed to possess a physical mass. It crushed the spirits of the villagers, draining their vitality, clouding their memories, and forcing them to live incredibly restricted, small lives. Every single dawn, Miriam would rise from her bed and dedicate her first waking hours to furiously combating the gloom. She would desperately attempt to shove the fog away from her front porch. She would wildly flap her arms, ignite large bonfires, meticulously hang protective crystals, intensely smudge the area with burning herbs, and execute every single protective ritual she had ever learned in a desperate bid to cleanse the atmosphere surrounding her sanctuary. Yet, the outcome was relentlessly identical. The mist would momentarily retreat from her doorway, granting her a fleeting second of triumph, only to violently crash back down thicker, heavier, and more suffocating than before the exact millisecond she paused her exhausting efforts. The illusion of the warrior. For a vast chapter of her life, Miriam operated under the profound delusion that this endless, exhausting battle was her divine calling. She firmly believed she was ordained to be the barrier that held the encroaching gloom at bay. In the eyes of her community, she was a heroic figure, earning the revered title of the ultimate fog fighter. The townspeople deeply admired her unwavering, yet tragic, dedication. They constantly supplied her with newly discovered artifacts, esoteric tools, and complex strategies to repel the miasma. She meticulously exhausted every single option presented to her, yet the results were consistently agonizing. No remedy held the darkness back for more than a handful of fleeting hours. One fateful afternoon, an elderly wanderer passing through the valley stumbled upon this daily spectacle. He calmly took a seat upon a large stone and quietly observed Miriam fiercely battling the impenetrable mist. He waited patiently until her physical reserves completely collapsed. Once she finally dropped to her knees, gasping for air as the thick smog immediately flooded back around her ankles to reclaim its territory, he finally broke the silence. "Tell me, Miriam," he inquired with a gentle curiosity, "have you ever actually journeyed to the summit of the great mountain behind you?" She cast a bewildered glance upward toward a peak she had never actually laid eyes on, as it was permanently swallowed by the suffocating haze. "Absolutely not," she retorted quickly. "No one dares venture up there. Our solemn duty is to remain down here in the valley and hold the line against the fog." The wise traveler simply nodded, understanding her conditioning. "The mist you are so desperately fighting physically cannot exist above a specific altitude," he explained softly. "It is simply too heavy. Its dense nature forces it to sink and cling exclusively to the lowest valleys. It is not a predator. It does not actively hunt or chase its victims. It merely floods the spaces that match its low density. If you genuinely desire to be liberated from its grip, you do not need a better weapon or a stronger shield. You simply need to climb." Miriam stared at him, completely aghast. "But what about my home? What about all the people left behind in the dark?" The wanderer offered a serene, knowing smile. "What exactly do you suppose they will do the moment they look up into the sky and witness you standing radiantly in the untouchable sunlight, ascending the frequency ladder? I need you to realize that you are simultaneously Miriam and the mountain itself. A massive fraction of your soul has been relentlessly engaging in this exact, futile combat. You have been squandering your most precious resource, your vital life force, violently pushing back against the immense heaviness, the toxic negativity, and the low-frequency chaos that seems to suffocate your environment. However, another profound part of your being, the precise intelligence that magnetically pulled this video into your reality, already fundamentally understands that swinging your sword harder will never be the solution. The only true answer is to ascend. You must actively elevate your internal frequency until the atmospheric fog of drama and despair simply lacks the density to reach your newly established altitude. And here is the beautiful paradox. When you finally take that hike and stand victorious in the golden light above the cloud line, you accomplish far more than your own personal liberation. You instantly transform into a blinding beacon of hope. You provide undeniable, tangible proof to everyone still suffocating in the valley that a reality above the fog actually exists. Providing that living example is the single most magnificent gift you could ever offer humanity. The world does not need your exhausted combat skills. It desperately needs your untethered light, the quantum foundation of coherence. This brings us to the pivotal juncture where we must dissect what actually causes a sustainable shift in your frequency. This is precisely the point where the vast majority of modern spiritual philosophies drastically miss the mark. You have likely been spoon-fed the narrative that elevating your vibration is as simple as forcing a smile, thinking good vibes only, blindly repeating morning affirmations, aggressively visualizing wealth, or sitting on a meditation cushion for endless hours. Do not misunderstand me. Those specific practices absolutely hold merit. However, they are merely external tools, not the power source itself. They are supplementary techniques that only function correctly when a much deeper, structural foundation has already been laid. If you lack that core foundation, all of those practices devolve into mere performance art, a shallow spiritual theater. You end up exhausting yourself, mimicking the physical motions of a high-vibration lifestyle, while your energetic core remains rigidly locked to its old, decaying frequency. That mandatory bedrock foundation is known as coherence. True coherence is achieved when your internal thoughts, your raw emotions, your spoken words, and your tangible actions are all perfectly synchronized and vibrating at the exact same pitch. It demands that there is absolutely zero friction between what escapes your lips and what genuinely resides in your heart. It means the chasm between your stated intentions and your actual behavior is completely eradicated. Most importantly, it means the mask you proudly present to the public is identical to the raw, unpolished soul you are when nobody else is in the room. Coherence is the complete and utter annihilation of internal contradiction, the laser effect of authenticity. Understand this. Internal contradiction generates the most deafening, destructive static within your personal energy field. Pause and reflect on the sheer volume of energetic currency you burn on a daily basis just to uphold your contradictions. Think about the agonizing effort it takes to enthusiastically claim, "I'm perfectly fine," when you are silently crumbling inside. Consider the energy wasted pretending to fiercely desire goals you actually care nothing about. just to appease society. Think about the exhaustion of projecting an air of supreme confidence while your nervous system is vibrating with sheer terror, or nodding in agreeable silence with individuals you fundamentally despise. Reflect on the soul-crushing weight of physically remaining in environments, jobs, or relationships while every cell in your biological body is violently screaming at you to run away. Every single one of those suppressed falsehoods splinters your energetic halo. It forces your system to act exactly like a broken radio desperately attempting to broadcast two completely different stations simultaneously. The inevitable outcome is absolute chaos, a garbled, confusing static that completely paralyzes your ability to cleanly manifest anything, simply because you are blasting wildly mixed signals out into the quantum void. Embracing coherence does not mean you have achieved flawless perfection. It is about committing to radical, uncompromising, and often intensely uncomfortable honesty first and foremost with the mirror, and subsequently with the world around you. When you finally step into a state of pure coherence, your energetic aura instantly shifts from functioning like a standard flashlight into operating as a surgical laser. A flashlight haphazardly spills its beam in a million different directions. It loosely illuminates a broad area, but it lacks the necessary intensity to actually alter anything it touches. Conversely, a laser channels every single photon of light into one tightly bound, ultra-concentrated beam that possesses the sheer power to slice through solid steel. It is the exact same light source, entirely differentiated by the sheer power of coherence. Your energetic halo is governed by this precise law of physics. When your internal state is fractured by lies and contradictions, your scattered field loosely grazes your desires, but lacks the concentrated momentum to physically manifest them. However, when you operate in absolute coherence, when every single fragment of your mind, body, and spirit is fiercely aligned with the exact same undeniable truth, your energy field becomes so overwhelmingly potent that physical reality is literally forced to reorganize itself to accommodate your presence. This is why living authentically is not just a charming psychological trait. It is highly advanced quantum technology, the architecture of truth. Every single time you choose to speak the unvarnished truth, you drastically amplify your state of coherence. Each instance you align your physical actions with the genuine pulse of your deepest emotions. You fortify the structure of your energetic halo. Every occasion you courageously step toward the exact path your intuition insists upon, even when that path incites sheer panic, completely defies logical analysis, and utterly bewilders everyone in your immediate circle. You are meticulously calibrating your personal frequency. You are tuning your receiver to a vibration so immensely powerful, it holds the capacity to physically alter your reality, not through exhausting brute force, but through the effortless grace of vibrational resonance. Now, let us ground this high-level philosophy into an immediately actionable protocol. Right now, on this very day, I need you to pinpoint exactly one specific sector of your existence where you are currently operating in a state of severe incoherence. Do not overthink it. Your intuition has already answered the question. The very split second I mentioned the concept of incoherence, a specific image, scenario, or person violently flashed across the screen of your conscious awareness. It is that toxic relationship dynamic you endure. It is the unfulfilling career path draining your soul. It is the destructive coping mechanism you lean on. It is the hollow societal belief you parrot. It is the agonizing conversation you have been desperately dodging, or the massive, unavoidable truth you force yourself to swallow every single morning. You know precisely what the source of the static is. You have been acutely aware of it for an incredibly long time, yet you continually self-soothe with convenient rationalizations. The timing just isn't right yet, or I haven't saved enough money to leave, or the situation is vastly more complex than anyone understands. But here is the undeniable reality. Your energetic field cannot be lied to. It recognizes the absolute truth, and more importantly, it has been silently paying an astronomical energetic tax for your persistent denial every single day of your life. Let me clarify what I am not instructing you to do. I am absolutely not demanding that you recklessly detonate your current life. I am not advising you to march into your office and quit your job tomorrow morning, abruptly sever your relationship tonight, or initiate some theatrical, bridge-burning confrontation. That is chaotic destruction, not coherence. True coherence begins with a much quieter, yet infinitely more powerful act: sheer acknowledgement. It starts with the profoundly revolutionary step of finally telling yourself the unvarnished truth. Your initial goal is not to fix the problem, solve the equation, or map out an escape route. Your only assignment is to look the contradiction dead in the eye and say, yes, this right here is where I am completely out of alignment. This specific situation is where my energetic field is fractured. This is the exact source of the deafening static, because the instant you offer that validation, a miraculous chemical and energetic reaction occurs. The massive volume of life force you were unconsciously burning just to uphold the illusion of denial to keep the glaring contradiction hidden from your own conscious mind is instantaneously liberated. And within a conscious energetic field, liberated energy never remains dormant. It immediately begins the process of rapid reorganization. It instinctively flows toward a state of natural coherence without requiring any conscious direction. You do not need to aggressively hammer the change into existence. You simply have to permit the truth to exist. The truth itself is the ultimate catalyst. Acknowledging reality is the mechanism that automatically adjusts your frequency. Truth is the very tuner that synchronizes your halo. I invite you to anchor this shift with me right now. Whether you whisper it silently within your mind or declare it audibly to the room around you, claim this sovereignty. I clearly recognize where I have allowed myself to be fractured. I deeply honor the temporary safety that this division once provided me, but I now consciously choose absolute coherence. From this moment forward, I elect to vibrate as one singular, unified signal, embodying one absolute truth, broadcasting one sovereign frequency. Allow the gravity of that declaration to fully permeate your physical vessel. Pay attention to how your nervous system reacts. You might experience a sudden wave of raw emotion, a profound rush of physical relief, or even a deep sense of mourning for the former version of yourself who desperately relied on that fracture just to survive. Please, fiercely honor every single facet of that emotional spectrum. Every tear, every sigh, and every release is entirely valid and forms a crucial phase of your fundamental recalibration. The Global Recalibration Protocol. Now, we must plunge into significantly deeper waters. This specific transmission contains multitudes of hidden layers, and we have barely scratched the surface of our descent. It is absolutely imperative that you grasp the colossal magnitude of the events currently unfolding across this entire planet. You are not merely navigating an isolated, personal spiritual awakening in a vacuum. You are an active, integral participant in a massive collective frequency elevation that has been exponentially accelerating for decades and is currently colliding with a critical, world-altering threshold. That dense, suffocating fog we discussed in Miriam's story, that miasma is not just your personal psychological burden. It is a global, planetary phenomenon. And yes, it is appearing to thicken and grow substantially more aggressive precisely because the ambient light is radically increasing. This is not a philosophical contradiction, it is fundamental optical physics. When you drastically amplify the luminosity within a given space, the pre-existing shadows do not physically grow larger, but their borders become violently more defined and impossible to ignore. They are suddenly thrust into stark visibility. And for the vast majority of humanity who have spent their entire existence comfortably acclimated to the dimness, this sudden, glaring visibility is profoundly terrifying and overwhelming. This exact mechanism explains why the global landscape currently appears more chaotic, polarized, and terrifying than at any point in modern history. The darkness is not winning the war. The rapidly intensifying light is simply dragging every hidden rot into the center of the stage. Archaic societal structures built upon foundations of dense, low-frequency greed are violently trembling. Corrupt systems that thrived perfectly within the fog of ignorance are being starkly exposed for what they truly are. Relationships bound together merely by shared trauma and mutual unconsciousness are rapidly disintegrating. And sensitive individuals like yourself, the ones intentionally holding and broadcasting these newly elevated frequencies, are absorbing the shockwaves of this global exposure far more intensely than the average person. Please realize that your heightened emotional and energetic sensitivity is not a fatal flaw or a psychological weakness. It is a highly advanced, sophisticated detection system. You are physically registering the violent recalibration of the entire planet within the cells of your own body. Because your personal field is intricately dialed into the global frequency, you are operating as a massive receiver. And right now, the volume of incoming data is unprecedented. However, I need you to imprint this next directive deep into your consciousness, as it is a matter of energetic survival. You did not incarnate here to act as a sponge for the world's chaos. You are here to serve as the alchemist that transmutes it. There is a catastrophic difference between these two roles, and if you continually confuse them, you will rapidly drain your life force to the point of complete physical and spiritual collapse. Acting as a sponge means allowing that dense, chaotic frequency to penetrate your halo, foolishly holding on to it, dragging it around like a heavy anchor, and tragically permitting it to pollute your own pristine vibration. The trap of the unconscious sponge. Tragically, a vast multitude of deeply sensitive, spiritually awakening individuals perform this destructive absorption entirely by accident. They unknowingly operate as energetic vacuums. They step into a crowded room and immediately inhale the stagnant emotional residue left behind by others. They scroll through a few minutes of the daily news and unknowingly ingest the dense, collective terror of millions. They engage in casual conversations with completely unconscious individuals and helplessly swallow every single toxic projection hurled in their direction. And then, at the end of the day, they collapse in sheer exhaustion, completely bewildered as to why their physical bodies feel like lead. They frantically wonder why they are drowning in an ocean of mental overwhelm, or why their personal baseline frequency continues to plummet violently, despite their rigorous daily meditations, their crystals, and their desperate spiritual routines. The alchemy of transmutation. True transmutation is an entirely different operational paradigm. To transmute energy means you gracefully permit the low-frequency static to wash through your environment without ever physically or emotionally attaching yourself to it. As that dense energy passes through your orbit, your intensely high-frequency halo automatically alters its molecular structure. Visualize a pure beam of light striking a precisely cut glass prism. The radiant light does not suddenly morph into the heavy glass, and the solid prism never dissolves into the intangible light. Yet, as a direct result of their interaction, the light is fundamentally transformed, fractured into a breathtaking spectrum of distinct, clarified colors, entirely reorganized by its passage through the medium. Your personal halo possesses the exact same alchemical capability. It can effortlessly filter and elevate any dense energy it encounters in the physical realm. But there is a crucial caveat. This divine filtration only works if you refuse to grip the heavy energy. It only functions if you stop deeply identifying with the sadness or the anger of the collective. You must constantly remind your nervous system that you are the crystalline prism, not the heavy darkness temporarily passing through the glass. The illusion of the beginner. Make no mistake. What we are discussing right now is highly advanced frequency mechanics. The sheer fact that you are still present, still intimately engaged, and still physically registering the electric truth of this transmission inside your very bones proves to me that you are absolutely ready for this tier of evolution. You are not a novice stepping onto this path for the first time. I know there are days when you feel exactly like a beginner. I am well aware that you endure agonizing moments where you violently doubt every single step of your journey. Moments where you cynically wonder if all of this spiritual understanding is merely a fabricated illusion, entirely constructed by your own desperate mind. However, true beginners do not naturally intercept complex cosmic broadcasts like this one. Unawakened minds are utterly incapable of perceiving the profound, resonant shifts you are currently experiencing in your chest. That persistent, nagging doubt you feel is not a symptom of your spiritual limitation or a lack of faith. It is actually undeniable evidence of your razor-sharp discernment. You should relentlessly question reality. You should rigorously test these theories. You should ruthlessly filter every single piece of advice, including mine, through the uncompromising lens of your own direct, lived experience. That is not weakness or doubt. That is absolute sovereignty. And sovereign independence is the single highest, most unshakable frequency accessible to human consciousness. The Somatic Reset Protocol. To support your sovereignty, I want to equip you with an intensely practical physical tool. This protocol is specifically designed for those exact moments when you realize you have accidentally slipped backward into absorbing the world's static rather than cleanly transmuting it. You will immediately recognize when this happens because the foreign energy will feel distinctly heavy, suffocatingly sticky, or you will suddenly experience spikes of severe anxiety and rage that have absolutely zero logical connection to your current physical circumstances. The moment you detect that foreign heaviness, I want you to immediately halt your physical movement and execute this practice. Firmly place your left hand flat against the center of your chest, right over your heart space. Place your right hand gently but securely over your lower abdomen. Draw in 3 agonizingly slow, deliberate breaths. As you release each exhalation, mentally broadcast or quietly whisper this exact directive. This heaviness does not belong to my soul. I return this energy to its origin point with pure compassion. My field is absolutely clear. I am completely sovereign. My halo is perfectly intact. 3 deep breaths, 3 intentional repetitions. That is the entire equation. When you execute this somatic command with absolute, uncompromising authority, you are not violently fighting the foreign energy. You are not desperately shoving it away in fear. You are simply taking a bright marker and forcefully redrawing the compromised boundary lines of your auric field. You are explicitly instructing your halo on what is allowed to stay and what must immediately be evicted, commanding the halo. Your energetic halo will instantaneously obey. It universally bows to the command of conscious direction. In truth, it has been desperately waiting for you to grab the steering wheel. For the vast majority of your earthly existence, your field has been coasting on a dangerous autopilot, entirely calibrated by the inherited traumas of your ancestors and the unconscious limitations of your environment. But the very millisecond you seize conscious, intentional command of your frequency, your entire reality violently shifts. This leads us to the ultimate, grand secret, that this specific broadcast was designed to deliver directly into your psyche. For years, you have been passively sitting in the waiting room of life, hoping for an external savior to magically rescue your reality. You have been waiting for a burning bush, a guru, a sudden windfall, or a divine miracle. And while beautiful synchronicity absolutely exists and massive blessings may already be hurtling toward you, they are not the root source of your transformation. You are the source. Your biological field, your sovereign halo, holds the exclusive, unmatched power to recalibrate your frequency and render you entirely bulletproof to low-vibration chaos. That spectacular power is not traveling toward you from a distant galaxy. It is securely locked inside your ribcage. It has resided within you since long before your soul agreed to inhabit this specific physical body. And it will continue to burn brilliantly long after this current vessel returns to the soil. It is the most foundational, inescapable truth of who you are, infinitely more real than the name on your passport, the history of your trauma, or the fabricated personality you show the world. You are a pure, self-generating frequency. You are a solitary, luminous beacon suspended in an infinite ocean, and the brilliant quality of that light rests entirely, absolutely, and non-negotiably within your own 2 hands. The agony of the liminal void. Yet, there is one more critical energetic layer I must immediately address, because I can palpably sense it vibrating heavily within the collective field receiving this message. A significant portion of you reading these words are currently being crushed by a very specific, agonizing gravity, the unbearable weight of the in-between. You are currently trapped in the treacherous transition zone. You are forcefully wedged between the hollow life you just outgrew and the magnificent reality that hasn't quite materialized yet. You are suspended in the void, bridging the person you used to be and the breathtaking entity you are violently evolving into. You have completely exited the reality that once made logical sense, but you have not yet arrived in a world that has taken a tangible, physical shape. This transitional corridor, this liminal space, is unequivocally one of the most terrifying, intensely uncomfortable environments a human consciousness can ever occupy. Every single cell in your biological body is screaming for resolution. Your ego is desperately clawing for certainty, demanding to know the exact blueprint of what happens next. Your frantic mind is endlessly running exhausting simulations, calculating infinite risks, and attempting to map out a future that the universe has not even finished drafting yet. The sheer psychological discomfort of this absolute unknown is so excruciatingly intense that you are likely feeling a seductive, profound temptation to just give up, turn around, and run safely back into the familiar misery of your old frequency. The seduction of the old identity. There is an overwhelming seduction to simply reach into the closet of your past and slip that outdated identity back over your shoulders. Much like a heavily worn but familiar winter coat, you consider doing this, even knowing perfectly well that the seams are tearing and it no longer fits your evolved frame, simply because the sheer, blinding uncertainty of the new horizon feels entirely unbearable to your nervous system. Hear my words with absolute clarity in this moment. Do not turn around. Do not retreat. The agonizing discomfort currently flooding your mind and body is absolutely not a red flag indicating that you have made a mistake or taken a wrong turn. On the contrary, it is the ultimate validation that everything is unfolding profoundly perfectly. What you are physically feeling is the literal sensation of your energetic halo forcefully stretching far beyond its archaic limitations. It is the palpable vibration of your biofield actively rewiring itself to sustain a massive frequency it has never possessed the capacity to hold before. Naturally, it is excruciatingly uncomfortable. Of course, it leaves you feeling entirely disoriented and dizzy. You are undergoing a monumental, cellular-level restructuring. And let me assure you, profound energetic rewiring never mimics the sensation of peaceful tranquility. Instead, it feels exactly like total chaos, but it is a highly intelligent chaos moving with a distinct, divine direction. The sacred void of gestation. Understand that this liminal void, this terrifying in-between, is intensely sacred ground. Every ancient wisdom tradition recorded in human history has deeply revered this precise phenomenon. It is the barren, scorching desert you must cross before discovering the promised land. It is the suffocating dark night of the soul that precedes a blinding dawn. It is the restrictive, liquefying cocoon before the majestic emergence of the butterfly. It is the absolute, silent void that exists just milliseconds before the spark of creation. These are not merely poetic metaphors crafted to make you feel better about your struggle. They are literal, clinical descriptions of the exact energetic transmutation that a consciousness must endure when elevating to a superior dimension of frequency. The crumbling, archaic structures must completely dissolve before the new, crystalline foundations can be poured. And within that terrifying period of dissolution, you enter a phase, sometimes a brutally prolonged phase, where you are entirely unmoored. You are no longer the person who started the journey, yet you have not fully materialized into the being you are destined to become. You exist as pure, unadulterated potential, completely unformed, nameless, and undefined, to your terrified human ego, which relies entirely on strict labels and rigid definitions to justify its own survival. This state feels like impending death, but to your eternal soul, this is a moment of supreme exhilaration, because the soul fundamentally understands that to be undefined is the exact equivalent of being truly limitless. If you are currently navigating the dense fog of this transition, I want you to anchor this truth deep into your bones. You are not wandering aimlessly. You are not damaged. You are certainly not failing the test. You are actively gestating inside the cocoon, and I promise you, that cocoon is not a restrictive prison cell. It is an elite, high-tech alchemical laboratory. It is the exact environment where the most miraculous transformations in the natural world occur, and it is the precise crucible where the most spectacular metamorphosis of your entire existence is happening right at this very second. The window of vulnerability. You must fiercely trust this sacred process. Trust your expanding energetic field. Trust the profound intelligence that magnetically guided you to intercept this broadcast in the first place. It did not orchestrate this encounter just to abandon you in the shadows. It brought you here specifically to remind you that you are the architect of the light. However, I must reveal another critical layer to this phenomenon, and I would be doing you a massive disservice if I withheld this warning. This liminal corridor is also the exact environment where your field is most incredibly susceptible to external and internal interference. Because your old frequency has been demolished, but your new vibration has not yet fully stabilized into solid reality. You are operating within a highly sensitive window of energetic vulnerability. During this exact gap, your expired habits will launch their most aggressive, desperate campaigns to reclaim their territory. Do not be shocked when toxic figures from your history spontaneously reach out or reappear in your timeline. Be highly vigilant when shiny opportunities present themselves, options that masterfully masquerade as progressive steps forward, but secretly vibrate with the heavy, regressive density of your past. Intrusive thoughts and insecurities you were absolutely certain you had healed and transcended will suddenly claw their way back to the surface with a terrifying, startling ferocity. Your inner cynic will multiply. Your baseline fears will sharpen their edges, and the psychological temptation to misinterpret all of this friction as undeniable proof that you took a wrong turn will become incredibly overwhelming. The extinction burst and the tipping point. Let me shatter that illusion right now. This intense resistance is absolutely not evidence that you have failed. It is the ultimate, screaming proof that you are finally winning. An established frequency does not simply pack its bags and exit the premises quietly. It fiercely fights for its own right to exist. Every single trauma loop, toxic habit, and limiting belief you are actively shedding possesses its own primitive intelligence, its own generated momentum, and a desperate, clinging desire to survive. As it senses its own imminent death, it will exhaust every weapon in its arsenal to violently reassert its dominance over your mind. It will weaponize your own fleeting thoughts against you. It will manipulate your deepest emotions to paralyze your steps. It will even utilize the unconscious people remaining in your orbit, those who are still securely anchored to your old vibration, as physical instruments to drag you back down. But you must remember the golden rule we established earlier. Do not frame this as a war. The moment you conceptualize this as a battle to be fought, you instantly slip backward into the trap of resistance. And we know that resistance shatters your energetic protection. This is not a fight. It is merely an initiation. It is a cosmic test of your true coherence. The dying frequency is simply asking your soul one final critical question. Are you absolutely sure about this? And you do not answer that question with desperate justifications or verbal arguments. You answer it purely by holding your frequency. Every single agonizing moment, you deliberately sustain your newly elevated vibration, even when your physical body wants to run, even when the old behavioral patterns are screaming for you to surrender. You are physically anchoring that new reality. You are pouring the concrete. You are transforming a temporary state into a permanent trait. You are cementing this new version of you. And if you simply hold the line, you will inevitably reach the glorious tipping point. You will suddenly cross an invisible threshold where your elevated frequency becomes vastly more stable and solid than the decaying old one. You will reach a breathtaking dawn where projecting your brilliant light suddenly requires infinitely less effort than it ever took to hide in the suffocating darkness. That is the exact moment your halo permanently clicks and locks into its magnificent new calibration. The effortless reorganization of reality. Then, As if by magic, though it is purely quantum physics in action, the relentless, exhausting struggle evaporates into absolute effortlessness. Synchronicity suddenly becomes your daily baseline. The exact individuals you require seamlessly cross your path. Miraculous opportunities materialize out of thin air. The precise words you need to speak flow from your lips without hesitation, and previously barricaded doors swing wide open. This monumental shift does not occur because you forcefully battered reality into submission. It happens strictly because you finally became the energetic match for it. Because your personal biofield stabilized at the breathtaking altitude of your highest possible timeline. Physical reality had absolutely zero choice but to radically reorganize its atomic structure to accommodate your new resonance. That glorious tipping point is hovering vastly closer to your present reality than your logical mind can comprehend. For a fraction of the souls engaged with this broadcast, that breakthrough is merely a few sunsets away. For others, it will culminate over the coming weeks. And for some of you, it is actively detonating right now, in this exact millisecond, as the frequencies embedded within this transmission perform their surgical alchemy within your halo. The exact timing of this manifestation is not dictated by me, nor is it magically controlled by this video. The timeline is dictated entirely by your sovereign willingness to fiercely maintain your coherence. It depends on your daily commitment to choose absolute truth, to relentlessly purge the internal static, and to continue your upward ascent up the mountain even when the suffocating fog is thickest and the triumphant summit remains completely hidden from your physical sight. The sovereign activation. Now, I need you to engage with the core activation that this entire transmission has been meticulously building toward. If your current environment safely permits it, gently let your eyelids fall heavy and close your eyes. Should you be driving or navigating a physical space, simply soften your visual focus, letting the external world blur slightly as you turn your primary awareness inward. Direct your undivided attention to the very center of your chest cavity. I am not pointing you toward your physical, beating heart, but rather the profound energetic nexus resting just behind your sternum. This is the sacred crucible where you physically register the sensation of profound love. It is the epicenter where you feel the undeniable strike of universal truth. It is the exact location of that deep, wordless, intuitive knowing that has served as your ultimate compass through every monumental crossroads of your existence. Visualize that suspended deep within the center of that cavernous space, there is a brilliant, blazing spark of pure light. This luminescence is eternal. It has always resided there. It burned brightly, long before your consciousness was seeded into this current physical body, and it will continue to shine magnificently, long after this biological vessel returns to the earth. It is the foundational, architectural frequency of your entire being. It is your original, uncorrupted cosmic signal. It is that highly specific, utterly irreplaceable light within the dark ocean that is uniquely you. Now, I want you to visualize that core light beginning to organically expand. You are not forcing it to grow through strenuous mental effort. You are simply granting it absolute permission to take up space. You are simply dropping the barriers. Allow that golden radiance to swell, entirely illuminating the hollow of your chest. Feel it flood your entire torso, effortlessly pushing past the boundary of your physical skin. Watch in your mind's eye as it inflates to completely fill the immediate atmosphere around your body, stretching out to touch the four walls of the room you currently occupy. Let it surge even further, spilling beyond the building, washing over the streets, and cascading across the entire city. Physically feel your energetic aura expanding infinitely in every single direction. This explosive growth is not the result of you pushing. It is the miraculous result of you finally refusing to contain your own majesty. This, my friend, is your sovereign halo operating at its ultimate, unbridled expression. This is exactly what it feels like when you categorically refuse to dim your brilliance just to blend in with the surrounding fog. This is your untethered field, entirely devoid of the static, purged of the archaic trauma loops, cleansed of the inherited ancestral baggage, and perfectly free from all internal contradictions. This is you in a state of flawless coherence. This is you, absolutely clear. This is you, undeniably sovereign. The declaration of frequency. While your energy field is suspended in this hyper-expanded, highly receptive state, I want you to anchor a new operating code. Recite these declarations with the full weight of your soul. Do not whisper them as fragile wishes. Command them into the ether as unshakable architectural blueprints for your reality. I am an inextinguishable luminescence that refuses to be dimmed. My elevated frequency is my impenetrable, ultimate shield. My radical coherence is the source of my limitless power. I completely release every vibration that does not belong to my highest trajectory, and I fiercely reclaim my divine sovereignty. My energetic halo is fully activated. My cosmic signal is crystal clear. I am completely ready for the magnificent reality that comes next. Hold yourself in that reverberating silence for a moment. Physically absorb the resonant shock waves of those commands echoing through your expanded field. Notice how profoundly different these words feel when your defensive armor is stripped away and your halo is completely blown open. Realize that you are not merely reciting an empty poem. You are actively broadcasting vibrational codes that are literally bending and restructuring the quantum architecture of the physical space around you. You are not just speaking a new truth. You are alchemically mutating into it. You have successfully programmed your halo with a master instruction set, and your physical reality will have no choice but to immediately begin reflecting this magnificent upgrade. The ripple effect. Whenever you feel grounded and ready, you may slowly flutter your eyes open. But as you reconnect with the physical world, I need you to remember a crucial secret. Your energetic field does not automatically shrink back into a restrictive box simply because you opened your eyes. The breathtaking expansion you just tasted is permanently available to you at every second of the day. This immense, radiant posture is actually your natural, default state of being. The contracted, suffocating, anxiety-riddled version of your field was always the unnatural glitch. What you just experienced is the ultimate feeling of coming home. I strongly urge you to bookmark this transmission and return to this exact space during your quietest moments, perhaps right before you drift into sleep, or when you sit down for deep meditation, allowing these highly calibrated frequencies to steep even deeper into your cellular memory. Furthermore, if the image of a specific person violently flashed into your mind while you were immersed in this broadcast, someone you deeply care about who is currently drowning in their own suffocating fog, I ask that you share this beacon with them. You do not need to attach a lengthy explanation or a philosophical preamble. Simply by passing this transmission along, you initiate a massive quantum ripple of coherence that can act as the catalyst to trigger their own dormant remembrance. And beautifully, participating in that act of sharing simultaneously reinforces and fortifies your own energetic signal. A single, quiet act of passing the torch can serve as the exact bridge another lost soul requires to finally recognize their own profound readiness. The true definition of special. Allow me to bring this entire journey full circle. You effortlessly intercepted this transmission today purely because you were undeniably ready to receive it. You did not stumble upon this because you are special in the toxic, hierarchical way the human ego desperately craves to be. You are not inherently better than the masses, nor are you artificially elevated above the rest of humanity on some fabricated spiritual pedestal. Rather, you are profoundly special in the exact way that every single isolated light in that infinite cosmic ocean is special. You are a completely unique, fiercely irreplaceable node of divine intelligence. You are carrying a highly specific vibrational signature that no other fragment of consciousness in the entire history of the cosmos has ever carried before, and no other soul will ever possess the exact capacity to carry again. The quantum necessity of you, the universe, requires your exact energetic signature. This is not a superficial, feel-good platitude meant to momentarily boost your self-esteem. It is a rigid, mathematical necessity within the mechanics of quantum physics. Within the vast, interconnected web of mass consciousness, there exists a specific geometric void that perfectly matches the unique shape of your soul. When you step into a state of absolute, unapologetic coherence, when your personal halo blazes with pristine clarity, you effortlessly occupy that exact space, and the entire cosmic grid instantly levels up as a direct result. Please understand that true spiritual ascension is never about achieving a detached state of enlightenment that isolates you from the rest of humanity. Rather, it is the profound act of embodying your most authentic, radiant self so intensely that your mere physical presence becomes an upgrading force in every single environment you enter. You do not achieve this monumental shift by aggressively lecturing others, preaching from a moral high ground, or desperately trying to convince anyone to adopt your worldview. You achieve it strictly through the silent, invisible, and completely unstoppable physics of a synchronized halo. The domino effect of resonance. Strangers will intuitively sense your arrival the moment you walk into a room. They will completely lack the vocabulary to explain the sudden shift in the atmosphere, but a dormant aspect of their own energetic field will instinctively leap in response to yours. Deep within their cellular memory, they will recognize the profound relief of standing beside a human being who has entirely dropped the performance, ceased all pretending, and absolutely refuses to dim their own brilliance just to make others comfortable. That sudden, jarring remembrance, that spontaneous activation, will act as the exact catalyst that initiates their own personal recalibration. This is the true mechanism of planetary transformation. We do not heal the globe through violent physical revolutions or loud, exhausting battles. We heal it exclusively through vibrational resonance. The Earth shifts one activated halo at a time. It elevates every single time one sovereign being boldly chooses coherence over chaos, raw truth over theatrical performance, and blinding light over the suffocating fog, anchoring the grid. And you, the magnificent soul who magnetically pulled this broadcast into your reality, the one who remained anchored here until this very moment, feeling every single syllable vibrate in your marrow like a tuning fork striking the precise chord your spirit desperately craved. You are undeniably one of these architectural beings. You are not on a strenuous journey to become one. You inherently already are one. This transmission did not magically bestow a new power upon you. It merely wiped the dust off the mirror so you could clearly see the ancient power you had temporarily forgotten. I will repeat this unshakable law. Your elevated frequency is your ultimate fortress. It is not an aggressive brick wall or heavy iron armor meant to battle the shadows. It is a luminescence so piercingly clear and so structurally coherent that the darkness is physically incapable of surviving in its vicinity. You did not conquer the chaos through warfare. You simply rendered it completely obsolete through your brilliance. Now, I ask you to participate in a vital energetic activation, not just for your own personal sovereignty, but for the magnificent collective grid we are consciously weaving together right now. Scroll down to the comment section below and physically type this exact declaration. My halo is active. My signal is clear. By intentionally typing those phrases, you are not merely engaging with digital content on a screen. You are physically driving a stake into the earth, permanently anchoring a highly specific frequency. You are consciously linking your individual signal into a massive, unified web of coherence that stretches infinitely beyond the confines of this video platform. Every single time another soul reads your specific comment, they will receive a potent, invisible micro-transmission of your light. This is exactly how we fortify the global field, not through hierarchical power structures, but through the pure resonance of each of us choosing to broadcast our signal without a shred of apology. The final dispatch. If the currents of this message shifted something foundational within your chest, if you finally heard a deep truth you have always known but never before heard articulated out loud, I ask that you pass this energetic baton to one specific person who desperately needs it today. Their face or name has likely already flashed across the screen of your mind. Trust that profound instinct immediately. Forward this to them without a heavy explanation or a desperate sales pitch. Just deliver the frequency. If their personal field is prepared to receive it, the alchemy will begin instantly. If they are not yet ready, the energy remains harmlessly dormant. These quantum transmissions exclusively activate within fields that are an exact vibrational match. Furthermore, I invite you to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. This request is not driven by algorithmic vanity. It is because we are actively building a coherent, living vortex here, and energy fields grow exponentially stronger with dedicated, coherent participants. By subscribing, you intentionally tether your aura to this broadcasting station, ensuring you continue to receive these critical recalibrations, not by the random chance of a computer algorithm, but through purposeful quantum entanglement between your consciousness and this signal. Allow this space to continuously refine your halo. Even during the hours when you are not actively watching, you arrived at the beginning of this broadcast weighed down by an agonizingly heavy burden. You are currently walking away infinitely lighter. This miraculous shift did not occur because I physically reached through the screen and removed the baggage from your shoulders. It happened strictly because you remembered. You possessed the absolute sovereign authority to simply set it down. You always held that supreme power. You just required a mirror to remind you. And now, the genuine work commences. This is not the exhausting labor of physical grinding, but the delicate, deliberate practice of continuously choosing moment by moment, breath by intentional breath, to vibrate fiercely at the frequency of your highest, most undeniable truth. Your halo is fully active. Your cosmic signal is crystal clear. The dense fog cannot survive at the breathtaking altitude you are currently ascending toward, and the destination you are rapidly approaching is exactly where your soul has belonged since the dawn of time. Welcome back to the active field. You are undeniably ready, and the cosmos has been patiently holding its breath for you to finally remember. Your frequency is your ultimate protection, and it always has been. Now that your energetic architecture has been completely recalibrated, there is a profound, deeper layer of this mystery waiting to be unlocked. To continue this immediate momentum, you must go watch the transmission titled, "The Quantum Field Stops Resisting You the Moment You Completely Surrender Control." That specific broadcast is the exact continuation of this journey, revealing the miraculous mechanics of what actually occurs when you stop aggressively forcing your reality and finally allow the universe to seamlessly reorganize life on your behalf. That is exactly where this transmission leads you next.